here so we can get this party started. It is 101. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And so today we are going to talk about mission and vision as I knock things over on my desk. I'm sorry. So we're going to just jump right in with just definitions of mission and vision. And these are buzzwords in the business and entrepreneurial community where everybody's like, oh, I know mission and vision. You got to have this mission and vision. And mission and vision, mission and vision. Yeah. What is it really? And when I ask people, business owners and leaders, okay, what's your mission statement? A lot of them can rattle off their mission statement to me. Great. Can your employees? Not so much all the time. So what I encourage them to do is make their mission and vision something that is simple. I have seen mission and vision statements that are paragraphs long, single spaced. And I say that's too much. You're not going to be able to focus on everything that is in this. So I'm going to just give you a real brief definition of what mission is. We're going to start with mission. Mission statement defines the purpose of the organization. Hard stop. A mission defines the purpose of the organization. That's really all you need to do. It is one sentence, maybe two, not a paragraph. The purpose of the mission is to guide the organization's daily activities and decision making by aligning with its core function and values. So everything that you do on a day-to-day basis should be able to align or somehow tie back to your mission statement. Now, switching gears for a second into vision. Vision is what your company wants to do in the future. So think about mission is present and vision is future. What is your organization? What are the future aspirations of your organization? That's your vision. So your vision doesn't have to be something that is achievable right now today, but something that you're working towards. And so your language in your vision statement should kind of reflect that. Maybe even put in dates, maybe put in years, like in 3 years, in 5 years, by 2028 or whatever it is, so that people understand this is what we're working towards. Because if we all know the destination that we're going to, we're much more likely to all be on the same path together. Does that make sense? So the purpose of your vision is to inspire and motivate employees and stakeholders by painting a picture of what the organization hopes to achieve. This is something that people can get on board for. Like if I say, hey, we're going to be people first coaching and consulting. You're all my employees. Okay, great. Well, why are we coaching and consulting? It's because we like it. That doesn't give us any inspiration. That doesn't tell us where we're going. But if I say, and I'm just going to make something up that's not true. Let's say I would like to be the on-call coach for Tony Robbins by 2028. Tony, call me. If that's my vision, then everybody who's working for me understands, wow, we're going to have to overtake Tony Robbins and get Tony Robbins to call us. So we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us and we're going to have to do a lot of specific things in order to get there. But that conveys a message to the people who are in the organization. So I want today to be very practical. I want you to be able to leave here today with something that you can implement this afternoon or maybe even tomorrow. So what I want you to be able to do with your mission statements and your vision is to simplify them down to one sentence. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. I wrote some down. If you see me looking off camera, I got notes in front of me that I'm looking at. So the first example is just a business owner to empower small businesses with intuitive, affordable software that simplifies their operations and fuels their growth. That's a great mission. It is one sentence. I can say it in one breath. And you know exactly what I am doing with my mission. So I'll say it again, to empower small businesses with intuitive, affordable software that simplifies their operations and fuels their growth. Okay, so this is a software company that is looking to solve problems for business owners that simplify their operations and fuel their growth. Okay, that's super simple. I got that. That's a great mission statement. I'll give you mine for People First Coaching and Consulting. Mine is to equip current and aspiring leaders with the tools, insights, and strategies they need to excel in their roles. Simple, very basic. Now, if you are like me, sometimes coming up with these things can be a struggle. before a couple years ago, I'd always be asking my wife, what's a word for such and such? And she's great at crossword puzzles and thinking of words and stuff like that. And I am more of a big picture person. So when I need to drill down to details, oh, no, that doesn't sound quite right. Or, oh, I wrote this out. No, I'm saying the same thing twice. And it just frustrated me. So if you're like that, and you struggle to write mission statements, vision statements, or have things be super clear, then I'm going to encourage you to do something. I'm going to encourage you to get some help. And where is this help going to come from? And some of you are going to know this name, but I'm going to throw out Jonathan Mast. So Jonathan Mast has been yes, I see some hand pumping on the screen there. Excellent. Jonathan Mast has been a good friend of mine for a long time. And if you know Jonathan, he is tip of the spear in AI right now, using AI for businesses, small businesses, that sort of thing. Is actually on his way to a conference this weekend where he's going to be one of the keynote speakers there. So congrats on that, Jonathan. But I tell you this story about Jonathan because Jonathan and I have been friends for a long time, even before he was in the AI space. And about a year ago, after he had started his company, he started talking to me about AI and using Chat GPT. And I was like, oh, no, I can't do that. No, that's no good. That's evil. That's going to take over the world. And I was one of those guys. And then he started to just very respectfully show me some things, not try to convince me, just show me how to use it. Try this. Look at this. So that's what I'm going to do with you all today. I'm going to actually share my screen, and we're going to do a mission statement together using Chat GPT, because sometimes you know what you want to say, you just can't come up with the words to say it, and you can't figure it out. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to share my screen, whole screen here, share. I'm going to bump over here, and there we go. I'm going to go into Chat GPT, and I'm going to just pick a business. Let's say, Shannon, your face popped up on the side of my screen. Can I use a preschool as our mock business to try? Are you okay with it? You can just nod. I know you're driving. I see you. Perfect. So we're going to come up with a mission statement for a preschool. Now, what are some of the things that we want to include? Well, we want the preschool to be a warm and inviting environment. We want our employees to be focused on student growth, and we want this to be a place where parents are comfortable sending their children. So I'm just going to type this in here. So I'm going to say, and I don't type well, so just hang on a second. All right. Write me a mission statement for my small business that talks about how my staff is focused on student, let's say academic growth. Parents also trust our staff, and what's one more thing that we can say? We want to be warm and inviting. And I'm going to also give it a prompt and say, please make this only 1 to 2 sentences long. Let's see what Chat GPT comes up with. All right. And it said, our mission is to foster student academic growth through dedicated, caring staff who create a warm, inviting environment where families feel supported and parents trust us to help their children thrive. I like that. It's really smooth and it's really clean. And it used words that I didn't think of, like thrive. That's not a word that I would have just thought to throw in there. Now, the reason I'm saying this is you don't have to take what Chat GPT gives you and say, okay, this is my mission statement. That's what the computer said. I want to tell you, I would suggest to you, use that as your jumping off point. I'm going to go back in time to back when I lived in New Jersey, and I used to see the New York Knicks play on TV all the time because I was living right outside of New York City. And there was a player named Latrell Sprewell. This is back in the 90s. And he was an amazing player as long as he didn't start the game. If he started the game, he didn't do as well. But if he was on the bench for the first 2 to 3 minutes, something changed in his brain and he would come in the game and come off the bench and just take over. Now, that's kind of how I describe myself when I'm thinking about these words that I have to write a mission statement. Man, I can't come up with something really great on my own, but if you give me a jumping off point, now I can really give you something. So maybe there's some things in here, and if you guys are watching your screen, I'm going to highlight this a little bit. Maybe I don't like this part. Our mission is to foster. Maybe that's not what our mission is, to foster anything. But I do like the student academic growth because that's what I prompted it to say. I do like warm and inviting because that's what I prompted it to say. And I really like to help their children thrive. What parent doesn't want their children to help thrive? So, but let's say we want to add something else in there. Let's say we want let's say a Spanish immersion class, because that's one of the schools that's in my local area. There's a Spanish immersion school. So let's say, okay, this is great. Please add that we have a Spanish immersion. I'm just going to guess at that word. I got it right. Spanish immersion class as well. Let's see what it comes up with. All right. Okay, that was pretty simple, including our Spanish immersion class. Well, we could have come up with that, right? But I say this and I show you this just because it's another tool out there for business owners. Now, if you have been like me, you have spent hours and sometimes days trying to come up with the right wording for a very short, simple statement. You'll be working on notes and you're like, oh, that's not right. I'll come back to it tomorrow. And I can't come up with something great. If you use ChatGPT as a simple tool to maybe give you a jumping off point, this is a great way for you to say, hey, I like this. I'm going to keep it, but I don't like this so much, so I'm not going to use that as much. So just something I wanted to throw out there. I wanted you all to see it. And if it's something that is helpful to you, then use it because it's there and you can sign up for a free ChatGPT account where it doesn't cost you anything as long as you don't use it a ton. It can be very, very helpful to you. So I'm going to stop the screen share and just go back to our regular screen here. And the next thing I want to talk about with this is now that you have a mission statement, which is going to really convey what your day-to-day operations entail, I want you as the leader. So now I'm speaking specifically to the business owners, to the leaders, to the managers, to the people who are overseeing the operations of your company or your business. I want you to start making this daily language. Now, I don't want you to be like a soldier where you're marching around reciting your mission statement every 5 minutes and say, oh, hey, somebody's going on break. Hey, I'm going to tell you the mission statement as you run into the break room. No, but you can use this in your day-to-day operations with your staff. So what does that look like? So let's say, let's use that, the one that we just did with ChatGPT. Let's say we're talking to a staff member about our preschool and we're talking about how little Johnny is struggling right now because, it's his first exposure to school, being away from his mom and dad, and he's struggling. So, what can we do to help little Johnny? Well, we're going to come up with some solutions for little Johnny, right? Yes. Great. So we're talking to the staff member, and then you can look at the staff member and say, these are some great ideas. This is really going to help little Johnny thrive. And I know a lot of parents look at our mission statement and they want to know that we're helping their kids thrive. So yeah, these are great ideas. Great. Thanks so much. And then just leave it at that. A couple of weeks ago, I said, exceptional leadership is done in chunks of 10 to 15 seconds. And so what did I just do with that staff member? I helped them problem solve for little Johnny. I helped them come up with some solutions for Johnny. But then I also took, I think, about 6 seconds to reinforce our mission statement so that it's in the back of their mind. Oh yeah, we do want to help our kids thrive. And that's something that parents read when they bring their children to our business. So yeah, okay, great. Use opportunities like that to further your mission statement with your staff. It's a way to encourage them. It's a way to have your same language being used all of the time so that people, your staff, understand what direction you're going in. I'm also going to say, don't assume they're going to make that connection on their own. Just because you said it doesn't mean they're going to get it. Now, if you've ever been in, any relationship with a person, I'm going to say brother or sister usually is where it comes out the strongest and the earliest in life. But sometimes you're with your sibling and you're talking about something and they'll be like, you didn't see that coming? Or you didn't know I was going to say that? And you'd be like, oh, no, I had no idea you were going to say that. And they're going to be like, oh, you're an idiot or something like my sister would say that to me probably. So Jess, if you're watching, that's for you. She would probably say something like that to me. And just because I didn't get it, she's going to think that's funny. But let's go back to the root of the issue there. I didn't see it coming and I didn't understand what she was implying. Why? I don't know. It just didn't happen. It just didn't click in my brain. Don't assume that your staff and your direct reports are going to understand the implications and inferences that you make. Make it plain, be purposeful, be intentional, and be specific. So if you're talking to your staff member, I'll use Shannon since we're talking about the daycare, and I want Shannon to understand something. I need to be intentional and specific about that. So Shannon, yes, thank you for coming up with that solution for little Johnny. That also connects directly to our mission statement, and that is to help little Johnny thrive. Period. 5 seconds. Now she knows exactly what I was thinking. And why is it important for Shannon, my direct report, to understand what me as the owner of this business is thinking? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. One is sharing the why. Why I am doing something or why we are doing something is incredibly important. Knowing the reasons behind the action will help you better execute the action. Also, sharing the self-talk. I talked about this yesterday on another call with another client, but think about a cooking show. What do you do during a cooking show? Some of us take notes because we want to get the recipe down, or sometimes we just watch it because it's kind of cathartic to watch somebody else cook and whatever. But what we are really doing is we are listening to a person talk to themselves about every intricate thing they're doing with that food for 30 minutes. Now, if I had to go to a dinner party and sit across from somebody who was going to talk about food for 30 minutes, I would stab myself in the eyeball with a fork because I just wouldn't want to listen to that. But when I'm watching a cooking show, that's different because I'm trying to grasp and understand the reasons behind why the chef is doing what the chef is doing. I am looking to seek the mind of the master. So why is the chef braising the meat in a certain way? And I don't even know what that means, but I heard it on a cooking show. So we're going to go with that. Why are they pouring the juices from the meat back on top of it? Why are they cooking the vegetables at that temperature? Why did they pair this wine with this dish? Because I don't know anything about wine, but I want to know why. Oh, that makes the food taste better? Who knew? I'm not a wine guy. So that's a great thing for me to understand and know. So make sure that people understand why you are thinking about what you're thinking. I used this example a couple of weeks ago. In the military, specifically the Israeli military, they have kind of this, it's kind of an unwritten rule. I think it is a written rule, but it's called man on the ground. And so in a military, you've got all of these different ranks. You've got your generals up top, and then you've got your colonels, your lieutenants, or whatever order they go in. I'm not a military guy, so forgive me if I'm getting that wrong. But in the Israeli military, one of the things that they say is the man on the ground has command because he is in the situation. So typically in a military, if there's soldiers who are in a battle of some sort, they have to get directions and permissions back up the chain of command, and then the chain of command issues the directives back down. Well, in the Israeli military, the man on the ground has command because he's in it. He sees it. He knows what's going on. So he then gets authority even over higher ranking people who are not present because they're not present. So why did I tell you all of these stories about the Israeli military and watching people cook and all this other stuff? It's because the person who is doing the work needs to understand why they are doing the work. And your direct reports need to understand the direction that they are going, because they need to understand why you are having them do those things. So when you're talking to your direct reports and your staff members, just be plain. Use plain language. Don't talk in theory. Use plain language and say specifically the thing about your mission or your vision or whatever it is. So let me go back to one of these other examples. The first one I used about the software business. To empower small businesses with intuitive, affordable software that simplifies operations and fuels their growth. So if I'm working on a project for them and I'm working with my manager and I'm saying, hey, you know what? This really simplifies operations for them. And that's exactly what the mission of this company is for. So great job. Thanks for coming up with that. Simple. Again, exceptional leadership only takes 5 to 10 seconds to execute. And what did you just convey to your direct report? You conveyed to them that they are doing the right thing and that it ties in directly to what the mission statement of the company is, and they're pointed in the right direction. And that's what you're supposed to be doing, getting all of your people pointed in the same direction so that you can move forward together and do things the right way, the way that they need to be done for your company. Now, can there be exceptions to the rule? Absolutely. And can you do things differently from time to time? Absolutely. But you want to make sure that they tie into your mission and your vision. So now let's switch gears out of mission for a second and talk about vision. Vision is, again, future focused. You don't have to be executing that right now. So what do you want the future of your company to look like? These should be tied together. So your mission and vision should complement each other. They don't have to be the same thing, but they should complement each other. And what do you want your vision to communicate to people? That you have a plan or that you don't have a plan? So if I just said, you know, the vision for People First Coaching and Consulting is to take over Tony Robbins' business someday. Okay, but that doesn't tell me how I'm going to get there or what I'm going to do in order to make that happen. So vision has to give you some sort of legs to what you're working on. And again, be purposeful, intentional, and specific with that. Don't beat around the bush. Use plain language and use the words that convey exactly what you're trying to say. So when we were back at ChatGPT and talking about the daycare, thrive. I liked that word thrive because that's a very powerful word. It conveys some very, there's not a way to misconstrue that word. Thrive is a word that comes off very, very well and tells people exactly what it means. Can you say that about a word? I'm just kind of talking to myself. Can a word tell people what it means? Sure, I think it can. So thrive. Yes. Thrive means to thrive. Think about plants. Plants come to my house to die. That's what we do here at the Hendricks household. We kill things over here. I'm going to just make sure I got everybody. There we go. And so, yeah, I got myself confused on that. Yes, plants come to my house to die. And we don't want plants to die all the time. We want them to thrive. So when you hear the word thrive, you don't think anything negative about that. That's a great word. Thrive is a great word because it always conveys something positive. So when you're looking at your mission statement and your vision statements, make sure there's not words that can be misconstrued or be confusing in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to stop talking here for a second, and I'm going to take any questions or comments from you all. If you have anything that you would like to comment or talk about mission and vision, or if you have questions that I can maybe help you with. So feel free, raise your hand. If you're not sure how to do that on your Zoom call, if you go down to the little heart button on the bottom of your screen that says react, if you click that, there's a little raise hand button that comes up. If you want to raise your hand, or if you're driving, you can just wave at me and then I'll know that you want to say something. Right, Shannon? Okay, Shannon, go ahead. Now you're muted.
I think there we go.
There we go.
I don't think I've ever used Zoom on my phone. So it's like I learned a whole new animal today, or didn't learn it. So we were talking I think, gosh, it's been a couple classes since I was with you live, but I think we were talking about, you did the one I wasn't in and you were talking about toxic kind of staff members
Yes. Yes.
and whatnot. And so this kind of tagged back in my head about what you were talking about there. And, if you have a mission statement and a vision and you find that you have a staff member that pushes back on that often, that's kind of a telling sign, right? That can be like a barometer to knowing that you have the wrong person on your team. So I think, sometimes defining what it is you want can help you also define who your team needs to be.
Yes. Yes. And I'm a huge one on why. Why is that person pushing back? So maybe that's like hey, I got you your favorite cup of coffee. Come sit in my office. I want to have a conversation with you about something. And it does not have to be an aggressive conversation, but just, hey, we talked about our mission and vision and you pushed back on that. It seemed like you didn't like that. Can you explain that to me? Open-ended question. Never ask a yes or no. Always ask open-ended, because then they have to give you the reason. They have to explain it. And maybe you hear, you know what? I had just had a fight with my spouse before I came in. I was going to push back on anything you said that day. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't disagree with the mission. I love it. It's fantastic. I just had a bad day. Okay. Great information. Or, yeah, Shannon, I hate your mission. I think it's dumb. I think we should do this instead. And I can't get on board with that. I just can't get on board with that. Okay, well, you don't own the company. So if you can't get on board with it, maybe we should have a different conversation about that then. Is this a good place for you then? Because this is our mission. This is our vision. This is what we're going to work towards. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And I'm always going to ask the question, why first? Before I pull out the hammer, I always want to have a conversation. And one of the ways that, because sometimes when you're talking with direct reports, you're not exactly sure how to approach things. I've always used the canned response. Are you okay? Is everything okay? Because I want to be concerned first. I don't want to come in guns a-blazing, because then that maybe makes me wrong. But I want to always be supportive first, because if there is a need for support, then I want to be able to provide that and fix that for that person if necessary, or if I can. But that also gives them an opportunity to have me open the conversation in a soft way. It's a soft open, not a hard open. And that often opens people up to having a conversation with you, because then they see that you're not coming in guns a-blazing. They see you, okay, they're just asking a question. All right, maybe I better just chill out here. And then
I was just going to say, I just heard you say something very similar, I think, in the first meeting. And then I'm listening, man, his last name just flew out of my head, but Jefferson somebody, he's a lawyer in Texas, has a bunch of books on communication. And he said, when you're starting a conversation with someone, you should know who you're talking to, meaning exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something in my own journey that I've been trying to work very hard on, because I can go one way or the other. I can be very, very passive, and then in trying not to be aggressive, just be angry on the inside. When I feel like it's me, I feel like, oh, I'm just, okay, maybe I didn't explain that well enough, or maybe whatever. And then sometimes I feel like I could be short in the front end, and that's really not me anymore. But when I started my business, I didn't know how to communicate with staff. I'd never had staff before. Right. So, I think that really helps to feel like, okay, well, who am I talking to? What was their day like? What's their situation like? And that way I don't have to take it so personally. And that's what I've been trying to convey to my staff, whether it's with dealing with the kids or with dealing with other staff members. Kind of figure out who you're talking to, and then you can take that extra feeling of like burden off of yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And, so keep coming back on Thursdays, because one of the upcoming weeks, I'm going to talk about emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is what we would basically, back in the day, we would say, knowing how to read the room and knowing where your people come in at. So like, Shannon, I come into work one day and I just had a fight with my wife. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably at an 8.5 on my emotion scale today, because I'm angry. I just had a bad interaction with my wife. And now you may knowingly or unknowingly be on the receiving end of that. But if you're emotionally intelligent enough, and there's some key markers that we'll talk about, things that you can pick up on, idiosyncrasies, where we're going to talk about, you know what, maybe I better just touch base with this person. I'll just walk over. Hey, are you okay? You did not seem yourself today when you walked in. And that's another soft open that you can get into. Just, hey, are you okay? You just don't seem right. Everything. And when you have conversations like that on a regular basis, and sometimes I might even ask that on a person who I know is doing absolutely fine, but I want to just get a thermometer reading on them. So maybe I see Dale up there. I know Dale from another group that we were in. So maybe Dale comes in and Dale is just happy as can be. And like, he's got an ice cream cone and a lollipop and he's just fantastic. And I know Dale's doing great. And so I might just go, Dale, you are so happy today. What is going on, man? And then he'll tell me like, hey, my wife gave me a big smooch as I was going out the door today, and that just made me so happy. Okay, great. I'm still taking a temperature reading. Still taking a temperature reading. So I know that he had a fantastic day. So maybe this is the day where I say, hey, Dale, I need your help on something. I'm really struggling with this. Or, hey, Dale, I saw that you made a mistake on this form last week. Can we talk about that? And because I know his emotional scale is low because he's so happy today, maybe that's a time to talk to Dale about that. So, yeah, great question. Thank you for that, Shannon. Does anybody else have any questions? Because if you've been on these with me long enough, I will talk forever. That's my extrovert coming out. Dale, LOL. I see that in chat, Dale. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming up. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. Next week, same time, same channel. I'm not sure what the topic is. I choose them on Mondays. It's kind of my routine is I choose them on Mondays and I put them out on Facebook and in the email. But thank you for joining me today. If you have found this sort of information helpful, you can also contact me via private message on Facebook or TidyCal, LinkedIn, any of those. And if you need any of this, like private, more specific coaching for your company, feel free to reach out to me. I definitely offer services like that for people. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody.